We're here today, Thursday, February 15th, 1 o'clock for the ADP meeting. First is to welcome everyone to the Squamish Nation Traditional Territory. I move that we adopt the agenda for today. Seconded Sarah. Chris. Meeting minutes. Has everyone reviewed the meeting minutes? There is a change that we've got here. Looks good to me. Anyone else have any comments on the minutes from last meeting? No? Good. Move that we adopt these. John, seconded. Thank you. The business today, starting with development permit 481 at 39660 Government Road.
There was a change, I think, in the order
Okay.
of the agenda. To do Cleveland first.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna start not with that one, but development permit 419 at 38148 Cleveland Avenue. And here to introduce is Carrie.
Hi everyone, my name is Carrie Hamilton. I'm a planner here at the District of Squamish. Some new faces, so just say hello. We will be bringing this development permit has come to ADP. This will be the third time, so some of you will be familiar with it. But I've also included a table in the back to its Schedule B that provides a little bit of an overview of the form and character and how it has transitioned after each meeting. So this is a development permit application for a 5-story mixed-use development located on 38148 Cleveland Avenue. The proposed development offers 12 residential units and 155 meters squared of ground floor commercial, which is all permitted under the downtown commercial C4 zoning. The proposed development is located in Development Permit Area 2, and there is a Schedule A highlights all of those guidelines and how it meets those guidelines. Staff is supportive of the revised drawings and are seeking ADP's recommendations and comments regarding the general form and character of the development as it pertains to these guidelines. And I'll hand it over to the architect to give a little bit more of an overview and highlight maybe some of the changes you've done.
Hi, my name is Rob Lee. I'm the project architect, and this is my colleague David Rose, landscape architect. So I'd like to start by just playing a 3-minute video of our building, just the exterior, and I'll explain as we go. So hopefully this will work. So that on there, but yeah, hopefully you could see. So that's the frontage facing Cleveland. As you can see, the darker stone that we have provided with the on the side walls, where we had many discussions back and forth, with a darker slate stone and the dark band around it with a lighter gray in the middle, provides a nice strong accent with the wood. This is the rear, which we're very happy with by providing this new kind of a screen fence that actually will conceal the cars and yet still have a nice paver design with the vertical landscaping along the walls. It makes it a very desirable space. Even though it's a parking, it looks much better. The roof deck up there with perimeter landscaping there with the retaining walls along the perimeter creates the border there and provide privacy between the two units. Now, coming out a little closer to the front, you can see the overhanging large generous roof. That's still very open and spacious. Still brings a lot of sun in. And those are glulam beams and posts that supports the roof structure. That goes with the light wood cladding, which looks quite light there. I brought samples here. It's actually darker. It's a dark fir metal cladding by Longboard or AL13. We brought both. If you look at the storefront between the dark stones, you see how we delineated the residential entrance with its own dropped glass canopy, and that's a light fir cladding versus a dark for the rest of the building. So a little closer up, you get to see it again. And, so we have the black frames for all the windows and balconies to accent with the light wood color. The gray there is a hardy panel, which we brought samples as well to contrast with the metal. And the glass, the gray glass in the glass area is it's just a gray spandrel that's painted behind to relate to the rest of the colors. So the back is with the fence. Like I said, we've got the fence there, we got the posts to cap that, and that's pretty much our overall, those are the highlights of all the changes we made. Any questions?
Okay. That's good?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll do a round of questions here, and then we'll go to comments. Anyone want to start? I can start.
You want to do the landscape first?
Oh, yeah.
Or give them a chance?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's fairly simple in terms of the changes that have been made. I mean, I guess the biggest change in the rear has been the removal of the garbage and recycling enclosure, which was right by the property line. Now that's being moved inside. And that's allowed us to just give a bit more continuity to the planting along the side wall of the adjoining property. And we've got reclining plants up the trellis there, and in addition we've also got some columnar trees against the wall, and that's achieved by having structural soil underneath the parking area, so that we can provide sufficient soil to hold those trees along. We've also got structural soil on the trees on the right-hand side there as well. The changes on the roof are the provision of more continuity of planters, which are right on just behind the parapet of the roof there. I think previously we had a lot of freestanding planters within the patio areas, but now we've got this continuity. The planter height is at guardrail height, so the intention is that people will be able to maintain it from within the patio area, rather than having any safety concerns about the roof edge there. The street side is pretty much as it was previously. So. In summary, that's what the changes that we made on the landscape.
Okay. Thank you. So round of questions. I have one question. The decks, are they the second and third level? How are they drained? Do you have a scupper in the middle, or do they come down over a flashing? Looking at particularly the second level there.
They will have a roof drain and will
Okay.
be piped internally to the exterior wall.
Yeah, okay. And the garbage was moved into the back.
Yes.
Is that going to be pushed out during garbage day with the
Yes, they'll
recycling?
just be pushed out to where that gray pavement is. They'll just pull it out past where the building is, about past there.
Okay.
And that way then the truck can come in
Okay.
so they'll just push it out beyond the building
Yeah.
base and then give it accessible to the garbage truck.
Okay. Yeah, good changes. John, do you have any questions?
Yes. Just looking at the commercial level on the main floor. One question, there may be a technical reason for this, but why is there a vestibule going into the bike room?
It's
Main
a,
hallway?
It's a building code requirement. If any exit stairs, the underground parking continues to go up, it needs to have a vestibule.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
and then, that's right, and then also for the exit trap, for exit, that's an exit lobby. And
Yeah.
exit cannot have direct access to any ancillary spaces. So if you have any bike room, mechanical room, you could have it, but you need a vestibule to protect it.
mhm.
Yeah, so it's a code.
Just pointing out that getting a bike around that bend looks like it might be very problematic. The other question is the heavy stone sidewall jutting out next to the main entry onto the street, which creates a nice big flat spot looking down the street. Is that a fire code requirement? Does it have to go out that far?
It does have to go past the face of the building, because it says 0 lot limit.
So it looks like the sort of the landing on the exterior there is actually further in from the face of the building,
Yeah.
and then that stone pillar kind of juts out. It just, to me, it looks, and I'll wait for some more architectural opinion on this, and that may have come up before.
Yeah, you can't have any openings at 0 lot limit.
Yeah.
So either it uses a concrete block wall or reinforced concrete. In this case, a stone was a better option.
Mm-hmm. It just, to me, it looks like a really heavy element in the middle of the street, and if it could be thinner or lighter colored, like I say, architectural opinion, I'd love to hear the experts on that. I'm also curious how, there's no office on the second floor level?
There's no office?
No.
No, just residential something.
How is that?
So this application came forward before any regulations around employment space were considered, or increasing the employment space in this area. So there's no regulation to specify how much employment space they have to provide.
And is it a special approval to get the relaxation on the parking for the required stalls?
No, that's not a special approval. It's allowed in our bylaw.
It's straight up.
So it's allowed that they can have cash in lieu for up to 4 stalls.
Okay. Nothing can be done about that then. Okay. That's all my questions for now. Thanks.
No questions.
Can you just tell me what the size of the elevator is?
It's 2,500 pounds, 8 feet 8 by 6 feet. It has, any building has to have at least one accessible elevator. So if you provide one, it has to be accessible for stretcher.
But it's not big enough to accommodate a stretcher?
But that's what it is, sir. It's a stretcher accessible, 2,500 pound stretcher.
Okay. That's all my questions.
No questions.
No questions for me?
No questions? Okay. Comments? Don't have any comments. I think the change from where it was to where it is now is a marked difference. Especially the Loggers Lane side is a lot more aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, I like the new version. The end wall is always tricky. But this version is better, I think. So, no comments for me.
Well, I guess I started to make my comment already about the stone pillar on the street front there, hopefully being thinner or a lighter color or something less obtrusive to the rest of the street. It looks very heavy as you look down the street, so. But I'll defer to my architectural colleagues on that. That's my only comment right now.
I'm wondering, I guess looking at the Cleveland streetscape, I guess there is a bit of a difference between this building and the adjacent building, but I'm wondering, is it purposeful? Did you really try to make it look like sister buildings, or why? I'm just wondering, why is something proposed in 2018 looking similar to something that's existing in the past? I don't know about when.
We didn't really think that it was that similar. We used bonding materials, design, things that are being structured. The building is much better.
Okay. Move on. Go ahead.
Sarah?
Yeah, I think it's much better not having a garbage at the back lane on longer plane. Looks significantly better. Other than that, I've got no comments.
No comments, other than I think, it's I've seen it twice before, so it's definitely been pared back quite a bit. A lot of the comments have been integrated, so it's the right direction.
Pam?
Yeah, I mean, I see the evolution of the design, and it's improved every time. And if I had one comment, it's just that if you were to have to figure out a way to start chopping at the budget, I feel like you could probably lose, similar to John's comment, just some of the stone and the wood at the front. If you have to, I don't think it would be a huge loss in the building, but it is also looks fun.
So just two small comments. I appreciate how the residential is popping as something different, but it seems to me that it's so similar to the wood above that it looks like a mistake. I would almost recommend, I think if the residential at grade had the same material as the residential above, it would read as residential as opposed to two opposing materials that are kind of same but different. I'll let you play with that, but it just...
You mean like a different material altogether?
Well, no, that because the residential at the top
Yes.
and the entry, they're virtually the same material, but they're not the same material. So it somehow they don't read together, whereas I think if they were the same material, it would read as a residential.
Well, that's a good point.
Because before you had stone along the whole
Yeah.
frontage, so it didn't differentiate itself from the commercial.
That's really tricky, and here's why. But there's either way. You can go either way. So yes, we did the other way before, I believe. But this way, the challenge was you have to tie in the residential portion, the entrance, with the residential, and yet still stand out from the commercial. So,
Right.
so that's why we opted to use a two-color system of the residential. Because why? Because the dark fir is the one above from second, third, fourth cladding, but at the entrance we use a lighter to distinguish it. Yet conceptually it's similar material.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you also want to distinct from the commercial as well. So that was a challenge. It's like a three-way relationship, and you had to kind of satisfy all three people, or three parties. And I think that was our thinking behind the two. Like this is kind of like the darker one, and then this is the light one, right? This one.
Right.
So
But it's not that much different.
They're not much different.
I mean, we could try to go a little darker, one of them maybe perhaps to create enough accent, but I think the concept is the right concept because we have to distinguish from the entrance from the commercial and the residential. If we made it all the same, then I think it would look kind of, you might look a little too, boring.
What is the CRU sign, sorry, this is a question, what's the CRU sign material that you're envisioning, or are you envisioning?
We're
'Cause if
thinking
it
like
isn't-
laminated wood or something.
It is laminated.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, though.
Yeah.
If you went charcoal or something for the commercial, and then you brought that consistent cedar down to the residential with the drop canopy, I think that does enough to differentiate itself.
Yeah.
If you're almost doing, making it a three-way challenge when it's really a two-way. challenge. Because I think before, yeah, we had a stone pillar there, so I think you've already delineated it well, and the drop canopy's more residential scale, so I would just bring that,
Yeah.
whatever color down. It's also important what you show us you stick to, so if you're showing us that dark one, that's what we're hoping to see on the finished product.
Yes.
Sort of
No, thank you. I appreciate
paraphrase.
that. And then just my second comment, really small one on the landscape on the back. Just encourage you to have just some little scoot paths, so they're gonna trample the shrubs. So it's always good to just have a little stepping stones or just something just to get them to, encourage them to use that rather than deciding their own route through the planting, which is always, that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, do we miss any comments? Any last ones that we wanted to add? No? Okay, we'll summarize those before we vote. So the comments generally were the entranceway, making it potentially the same as the residential above. Stone column being possibly too heavy on that one end wall by the residential. That'll be the main entrance, but we hear you concerns there with having opening at 0 lot line. And a step area in the back across the landscape.
Just stepping stones, yeah.
Stepping stones across the landscape. What else? Did I miss anything? Those were kind of my
The
three.
residential entry.
Yeah, top, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that, we can vote. A, B, C, or D. So, A, ADP supports the project, does not need to see this project returned for further review. B, ADP supports the project in general and would like the applicant to work with staff to resolve the following recommendations. C, ADP supports the project in general and would like the applicant to resolve the following recommendations and return to present the revised project to ADP. And D, ADP does not support the project for the following reasons. So do I have a motion for one of those? Sarah?
B. I'll make a motion for B.
Motion for B.
Make a motion for A.
Motion for A, okay. Need to vote. Discussion on this, A or B? Vote the same.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that the entrance needs to have a little bit of transition with the
Mhm.
materials, so in that way, the comments are taken forward to the planner and she can work with them to resolve it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So,
And I think I suggested A because I thought that the direction with respect to the residential, and I don't know, I guess I assume that it would be that it would be worked out with staff, and maybe I just misread the motion then.
yeah, B is, it'll be worked out with staff,
Okay, sorry,
essentially.
then my
Yeah.
mistake, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Motion is B. Voting for B. All in favor? Passes. Good job. Nice change to the B. Okay, thanks. Okay, we're reconvening ADP meeting. The next on the agenda is DP 481, but they're not here, so we're going to move to the ADP awards and close the meeting. So motion to close. Sarah? And let's close. Okay, let's reconvene for the ADP meeting today. Next up on business is development permit 481 at 39660 Government Road. It's the first time we've seen this, and to present is Jesse from the district.
Hi.
Good afternoon, ADP. My name is Jessie Fletcher, planner with Community Planning. I'm here today to present an application for a development permit at 39660 Government Road. So briefly, this application is for a mixed-use building offering 27 purpose-built residential units and about 1,000 square meters of commercial space. It's the second application received in the MUD 1 district. The other application is the property immediately to the east. The application is to be reviewed against Development Permit Area 6, Squamish Industrial Park guidelines. This is a priority application as per council's direction, as it is offering 100% rental to be secured with a housing agreement. Therefore, the application only needs to be seen by advisory design panel one time. Following that, staff will work with the applicant to resolve any recommendations from ADP. Staff are working with the applicant right now to resolve a few things, outstanding issues with the flood hazard assessment report. The site is within a secondary floodway, so it must maintain a 15-meter setback from the rail line to the west. Right now there's an accessory building for garbage that's highlighted in the red box to the top of the screen. That will likely need to be relocated or certified as safe by a geotech, which the report does not do right now. The second thing is the long loading bay that you see along the east side of the building is currently raised and considered a retaining wall. It doesn't comply with the zoning and it obstructs another secondary floodway. So our municipal engineer is working with the geotech to find a resolution to that as well. As for zoning, the applicant is requesting a variance to the height from 17 meters to 19.98 meters. Staff do note that the top of the parapet is only 17.24 meters, and the rest of the variance is to allow two stairwells and an elevator penthouse to project into or above the roof. Those will provide access and egress from the rooftop. There's some other zoning items that still need to be resolved, including the retaining wall, which we covered with the flood hazard assessment, the location of electric vehicle charging receptacles, the indication of where the disability parking stalls on the site are, parking lot lighting, and landscaping within the parking area. The DPA guidelines are largely being met with the except of DPA guideline D, which speaks to the landscaping enhancing the appearance of buildings and to screen other necessary features. Staff feel that the podium retaining wall area could be better landscaped. But staff are seeking ADP comments and recommendations regarding the form character of the proposed development, specifically feedback on the site plan, including accessibility and circulation. That was highlighted specifically within the report. We're also seeking feedback on architectural design, building materials and exterior finish, and the landscape. And I'll pass it over to the applicant to present.
Hey everyone, my name is Justin Bennett from Urban West Architecture. This is Jacqueline Green from Urban West Architecture as well.
Corner of the icon. This one, yeah.
There we go. Okay, just a quick overview of the site. The site's situated in a unique location, running parallel to the railway and bound by Government to the north and Pioneer Street to the south. When we started this project, we started looking at ways, we were kind of exploring a question, how can the architecture of the building relate to the rail yard, the heritage park, and the adjacent residential neighborhood in a way that makes it an interesting place for people to visit. Just a few views around the site. Hard to see. So as Jesse, what's that?
Is it possible to turn the lights down?
As Jesse mentioned, we're in the Mud 1 district, so you can kind of see our site there in orange, joining up to the adjacent sites in yellow. So our site is divided into three areas, Area 1, 2, and 3. We are proposing to, our first phase of development is to develop Area 3, which allows for neighborhood commercial at the ground floor, some office space on level 2, and we're looking at rental apartments on level 3 to 5. There's a few constraints on the site. Like Jesse mentioned, we have a 15-meter setback from the right-of-way on the rail side, and a 4-meter setback along Government Road, which really kind of pushes us into developing the eastern part of the site. So given that we're sort of situated on the eastern part of the site, we're proposing sort of vehicle circulation running north-south, vehicle and pedestrian circulation running north-south, connecting Government to Pioneer, given that you'll have people accessing the site probably from both locations. We are interested in looking at some pedestrian connections, connecting across to the adjacent developments, some of which there's no proposals for yet, but we anticipate there'll be future connections to those sites. So just to give you a little bit of overview on the site plan and how, just so that you understand how we foresee the rest of the site being developed. We're looking at it as a 2-phase project. So phase 1 is the building that you're looking at today, and phase 2 is down the southern edge of the site, which is where we're currently showing our park space. So it's our open site space. So if you see the little diagram up in the right corner, kind of shows what we're proposing. You can see the surface parking and the park space. So phase 2, there we go. Phase 2. In the little diagram on the right would be another building, and that phase we would need to relocate. We need to put parking below grade, and probably relocate that open park space to the rooftop of our original building that we're looking at today. You can kind of see the green patch on top, and that's also related to, in order to gain access to that green space in the future, or that roof space in the future. That's why we're requesting the variance to bring the stair court and the elevator up. So this is our ground floor is largely commercial space. We'll have public access off Government through an accessible ramp, and also access on the west side of the building, on the west side of the building through stairs that access up onto a podium. The building is going to be raised up on a podium to do with flood issues. Commercial parking will be provided along the rail side, right in front of the commercial spaces, and the residential parking will be located just to the south of the building. Loading will occur along the back, along the property line to the adjacent proposal. Just a quick run through the plan. So this is our sort of our lower level, which is so below the podium level. There's and just to orient you, the rail is up and Government Road is to the right. So the residential entry is on the left side. So you kind of drop down about 4 feet below grade outside, where people can bring their bikes in and out, and you go up to the residential lobby that way. Along the top, you'll see the stairs that drop down from the podium above. That's public access to that commercial level. Here's our main floor of our commercial level. We've got about 8 units, potentially 8 units of rentable commercial space there. Each unit has some access to outdoor space on the podium in the front, and they also have a overhead door in the back to facilitate kind of loading in and out, and access to the raised podium at the back of the building as well. Each commercial space also has a mezzanine up top. It's a mezzanine level. This is our typical level 3 to level 5 plan. We've basically got about 27 units total, 3 studio apartments, 12 one-bedroom plus dens, and 12 two-bedroom plus dens. The corridor is open to the outside on the back, which you'll see later in some of the exterior images. Again, these are sort of typical unit types. We are focusing on making it an economical, a fairly simple building with an economical structure so that we can provide the rental housing at an affordable price as well. So in terms of the exterior materials, I mean, the primary material that we're looking at using is a sort of a reddish, rusted red color corrugated metal. And that's really kind of inspired from the old rail cars, and also in terms of the corrugated profile and in terms of the color. One of the future stair core along Government, we're looking at cladding it in a charcoal stained cedar and potentially having a sign painted on it that kind of showcases this new development. There will be some hardy panel on the rear of the building, sort of a charcoal hardy panel on the rear of the building and around the commercial spaces. A lot of the rails that wrap, the guardrails that wrap the podium level will be kind of an industrial, industrial character, like expanded metal mesh, painted black. Those are kind of the primary materials that make up, I think, the character of the project. And this is the view sort of from across the tracks looking at the building. You can kind of see that red corrugated metal. And we've really tried to work on shifting the windows around a little bit so that we can kind of give a sense of motion or movement to the elevation, just to make it a little more interesting. All the units are sort of oriented to the mountain views to the west, and each of the units has an outdoor patio that looks this way as well, that looks towards us here as well. This is the view from the corner of our drive-out when you enter the site off of Government. So you can sort of see that stair core tower that's clad with the charcoal stained cedar, and it's extending up so that it can give us future access to the roof. It also kind of creates a bit of some feature signage for the project. Along Government, we can see the ramp extending up to the podium level, and then along the drive aisle, there's a series of stairs which drop down to give access to the individual commercial units. Just a kind of a zoom-in detail of where the stairs drop down. We're showing some plantings and some simple sort of rail tie-like benches, which Meredith will speak to after this one. This is the entry this is the view looking at the entry to the residential unit, which steps down a few feet below grade in order to enter in. And this is our view as you approach the site along Government. You can see that feature stair core, and you can also get a view on the left side, which looks at those open corridors along the access to the residential units. And the landscape, I'll hand it over to Meredith.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Meredith Mitchell with M2 Landscape Architecture. I'm a landscape architect plus an ISA arborist as well, so we can speak to this. So in our landscape design, as you can see here, we have some reference images, and then essentially we have focused on the phase 1 of the project currently, which is the new building, and then to your left is the remnant space that ultimately will be the phase 2 area, but currently is a vegetated area, and we provided a temporary amenity at that point until the such time in the future that the phase 2 is considered starting and then go from there. So the landscape generally has been done in such a way that it allows for a lot of deciduous materials and low hedging. There is a certain amount of security and septet that is an issue in this particular area for the pathway that is existing on the railway side, which is the top of the screen, if you will. But we did want, the concept was trying to provide a repetitive perforated screen, if you will, of the columnar trees and then a low hedging material that is actually, I believe, a rugosa rose, which allows for a fairly good solid hedge that's really floral all through the entire season and deciduous. It allows for very good wildlife forage as well because of the seeds that are involved in the hedging. And then close to the actual building itself, there's actually these at-grade planting beds that are in front of the wall and the stairwells to provide these rhythmic landscape plantings and screen for the wall itself. Most of the plant material has a mix of both evergreen and deciduous, and we had tried to provide some indigenous plant material as well. And then some additional planting islands in the parking area, separating the drive aisle from the parking in the resident, pardon me, I have a cold, in the residential parking area compared to the commercial parking area, which is separated out. We also have provided some additional supplementary planting on the street to the left, and then supplementary planting on the actual currently residential existing to the bottom of the screen as well, and then continual landscape planting on the against the actual parking size to where the lorry base starts. On the street frontage, you can see on the north side of the screen, so that side, right-hand side of the screen, there is there. The ramp is also landscape planted at the base of the ramp to provide a screen at the base of the wall. And then also, it's visible from the street frontage, so it does provide a certain amount of wayfinding when you're looking up the street. There's some concept images for materials and for the actual planting material, the selected plant material that we have, plus the lights. We are providing some lighting that's mostly architectural on the upper podium level to allow good visibility for the commercial spaces, and decorative and permeable paving at that level as well to allow for water infiltration. If you wanted to have, just as an aside, so for what we're trying to do in the currently existing green space that's on the left-hand part of the screen is we're proposing essentially a granular pathway and bench seating and picnic tables within that area with a cleaned up area just to allow for the temporary amenity as well. And then it will obviously be redesigned at the phase 2 level to be on the roof of the first building. So if you have any questions, we welcome any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So we'll do a round of questions and then some comments. Does anyone want to start with questions? Sarah?
On the drive, is there paving going all the way up the ramp, like the pavers?
No, likely what's going to happen because of the ramp, it's so much easier if you have it as a score cut concrete or a broom finish concrete for traction, and then the unipavers are going to be at the landings only.
I have a question about the size of the elevator.
Okay.
Can you tell me what's out here?
It's measured. It'll be inaccessible.
It hasn't really been determined yet, it's just an allowance. Yes.
Is the cast in place like podium mixed panel widths, like it's kind of shown in the renderings, or is it? It is cast in place.
The podium structure?
Yeah.
We're still trying to determine what the exact structure is going to be. There's potential that it could be a steel frame podium. We're still trying to determine what the most cost-effective way is to construct it.
Why the selection of stucco in the residential outside corridors versus?
I guess it was, we were looking at it, sure, we were looking at a smooth stucco because it's meant to look more like drywall to match the softness on the walls along the corridor, and then the little bump outs that happen along the corridor kind of help break up the length of it, and those will be in a different color stucco.
And what is the soffit material in the white panel?
The soffit is also stucco as well.
And you might not be able to answer it, it sounds like, but I was hoping you could tell us what mesh the railings are at this point. Is
Yeah,
it expanded or is it a perf?
Yeah, I think we're...
It's pretty crucial, I think.
Yeah.
I like them all.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to know.
they both work well. We've been kind of leaning towards the expanded,
That's it for questions.
Okay.
Just one question on the corridor. I guess is that kind of brushed concrete, or what's the construction of that, of the corridor?
The finish of the corridor floor.
Yeah.
I haven't determined that yet.
Just kind of at
But it will need to be something that can resist the weather, obviously. Yeah.
And will it be separated? I know a lot of those corridors are kind of built a little bit off the wall, and there might be steel or some other material. How are you kind of insulating both weather and sound?
Right. So the wall along the corridor will be an insulated exterior wall. So an insulated exterior wall, so it will provide the same amount of acoustic separation that any of the exterior walls would need to.
With regards to phase 2, there's the strip of sodded lawn kind of in line with the parking. Is that going to be parking in phase 2?
I guess we need to evaluate the parking needs of phase 2, which will be based on how much area it ends up being. So at this point, it's probably too early to say. It could be turned into parking, but until we kind of look at how much underground we can put there, we can't really say. Yeah.
And then I'm just wondering about the adjacent lot. Are you aware of anything that's going on adjacent to your property? Or are they still early days?
We have been in communication with them, and the proposal that we put forward was to try and connect our podiums. There's been some additional discussion from engineering there about some floodway requirements or some desires to have a strip of space through there down at grade, so we're still sort of working through those issues right now.
So that raised loading bay that they're working through together and
yeah.
All together. And then just a question for what was the surfacing in the residential entry? Did you have the ramp going up and then kind of landing space? What was the ground plan spacing in the region there?
I believe they're a decorative concrete unit panel.
Decorative concrete. Good. Thanks.
Okay, question, you have planned in phase 2 to turn the roof into a green roof, it looks like?
Potentially green or just an amenity space. I don't think it might have green elements, but it's the potential for it to be an open space, an open recreation space for the tenants.
And the reasoning on why not activate at least a portion of that for this phase?
Well, we're kind of putting the money into the park, then to this little park that's being proposed at the southern end, and then thinking about that as the future phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For site access, have you considered or have you done a traffic impact study?
Not at this point, no.
Have you considered on Government Road making that entrance actually just exit only? I could see people jamming up. That intersection is quite busy, and have you considered an exit only and
like a one-way?
enter and exit from Pioneer as well?
We haven't thought about that yet, no.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough. And you talked about some communication with the connection to the neighboring lot there. And is there any restriction, the stairwell location on Government Road there? That's a prominent feature that everyone's gonna kind of see that shields the building essentially. Is there any flexibility in that location moving more inset?
There is, yeah, there is. I think we had sort of, there's a view here, we'd sort of put it in a spot where you kind of want it to pop out a little bit, but maybe not too much, I think. But there is flexibility in its position.
Yeah, this view is really good, except most people will see the other view coming.
Which is, we've got this one.
Yeah, it seems really strong to almost hide the building. You don't, well, you'll see one side, but you have that adjacent building that's strong and big, and then this big pillar, you kind of mask the building there. But so is there any restriction on pushing that back?
It could move back. I mean, I think it should be a little bit forward the other one, but it can move back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's my questions. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Well, lots of good questions. I wrote a few of mine there. Just on the, I was going to mention Government Road as well, the right in and right out, but of course you're going to look at that now. When that train is blocked off, that's a mess in that corner.
Right.
And then, any thought of putting any kind of landscaping on the roof, since there's very kind of limited landscaping? Any thought of roof garden?
Haven't really discussed it yet. I mean, as we've kind of always kind of put it aside for the second phase.
Okay. And then I thought maybe green walls. It just seems like it's really kind of light on landscaping. But you could probably plant something up your sign wall there, or put some green wall somewhere. And then nobody asked about the pollinators. Did you plant pollinators on those trees?
Well, the rugosas generally are a good pollinator that way. They're an ever-blooming variety.
Yeah.
And there are some other perennials and things like that. The trees, I believe, are a maple, because we were taking the reference from there's 3 existing trees that are on the little planted area that's on the actual, not the Government Road side, the other side, of which there's 3 cherries, which are the Japanese cherries, and then there's 3 maples. So we wanted to continue the maples, but we could certainly look at a different type of tree that would allow for a good pollinator.
Yeah, just think about the bees a little bit. And then just, I guess, the planning, have we thought about a trail along beside that fence, north to south, going right through the business park? I mean, there'll be a setback off that fence that BC Trail has. And it's just kind of a question out there. If we...
Which fence?
Along
the west side?
Tracks.
Along the railroad tracks?
Yeah. Like in between that property and the railroad, there's a little green
Well,
strip.
there is actually a trail there. Is that it?
There's a paved pathway, but it's in front of the ditch.
It's on
Well, I'm just thinking,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if there's room, I mean, we could go from there all the way down through the whole business park, because this is kind of the first one being built up against that fence. It's just a thought. I just throw it out there for a thought. It could be potentially people could come out of their little apartment there, get on a trail and scoot all the way down to downtown without having to go out onto the road. Anyway, that's my questions. Thank you.
My questions would begin a little bit with some of the loading access. I'm curious to know how you go about loading into CRU number 1. I don't know if you have the A101 plan.
Where the ramp is?
You've got the ramp coming along the back road, but let's say someone's already loading into one of the other CRUs back there, and you end up parking in the 2 loading bays that are presumably mostly for residential, but is there an allowance for getting at CRU number 1?
Is CRU number 1 the top one, or the...
Furthest to the left? So it's got the hallway that comes up from the back loading area.
Oh, right there, right. Yeah, that one has a, so could you repeat the question again on that one? It's got access from the back, and it also has access from the front of the podium. It doesn't have the loading capabilities at this point that the other commercial units do have.
So if you wanted to get to that end of the front podium, front of the building,
yes,
you would have to come all the way down to the end of the drive aisle there, and then come all the way around the far side of the building to get to that corner up there. If you were loading in the front.
If you were, right, unless you just came right down the corridor with whatever you were bringing in there.
The only reason I ask that is because if let's assume someone decides to park in the loading bay, the two stalls there that are on this side, the left side of the building. If there's a way where they can easily get up even onto that podium level.
Oh, right.
Is it just an elevation issue? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to either come around to the stairs on the front or walk up the ramp.
Yeah. Right there.
Right there, yeah.
I can see how much higher it is, so. I mean, right now, even if you're in the residence and you want to go, or you can't get onto that podium level from the residential side. You've got to basically walk down, around, find the stairs on the outside and go up.
Yeah.
I guess it is what it is. And then the same for CRU number 8, your loading is there a bay door there on the north side?
Yeah, there's the bay door is only on unit 7. Unit 8 doesn't have a bay door.
7.
And at this point, I guess we don't know for sure whether or not somebody could take unit 7 and 8, or they could take all 3 units depending on what use goes in there.
It actually works quite well in the middle. I'm just curious about how those
yeah.
2 end units are going to be. What is the ceiling height inside the main CRUs, like the max ceiling height?
Close to 4 meters.
I know there's mezzanine in there as well, but what's the max
Sorry, it's
height?
5.6 meters. Exclude, like the full height
Yeah.
beyond the mezzanine is 5.6 meters.
5.6.
And we've got 9 clear under the mezzanine at the back of the CRU.
9 feet.
Clear just under the mezzanine.
Yeah. And then, but the double height
Is-
is 18 feet,
Yeah.
roughly?
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other question was about circulation. Oh, just have you calculated the turning radius? Let's say a big truck comes in and wants to turn through your parking area there and then back in along the loading lane.
Yeah.
Because it's a dead end, they're likely going to want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was we sort of left along the property line. We left some flexibility there where a truck could turn in there and then back in.
It's your site plan, your overall site plan.
Yeah, the 001.
Yeah. So see where it says res entry? They're likely to come around that corner, go past all the residential cars that are parked there and try and do sort of a turn and then back up the
That's right,
loading
yeah.
route. So if some attention is given there towards the radiuses for a big truck, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me.
Cheryl, do you have any questions? No questions?
Can I track one more question?
Yeah.
What is the corrugated profile, corrugated steel siding?
It's
7/8 round or is it square?
Square, yeah.
It's like a rectangular kind of a square edge.
Okay. Good.
Okay, good. Follow up with our comments. Sarah?
I think that your ramps are too steep. You've taken them to the very maximum that you could. So you need to lengthen those out somehow because it's just not that usable. And yeah, again, make sure that it's cement and the paper's not on the ramp. have some contrast at the top and bottom of the ramp. Starts to see. And then additionally, the accessible parking is going to need to be located within the by the residential entry, so that you can have access to that elevator to get to the levels you need to. You might want to consider having some small signage at the front ramp just to indicate that the elevators at the other end of the building. That's my comments.
I really like the project overall. I think like it's nice to see something restrained and responding to kind of the reality of the context that it's in. So I really like the material choice, and I think the elevation's great. The challenges with floodways are a challenge, so I think some good comments from John and probably more to come from other people. The site plan, the whole success of the project, and obviously phase 2 over the benefit if you just get a few of those things right, because then you won't have to deal with them in phase 2. Seems like with this expedited DP process, you're kind of have a few questions out there that aren't set in stone, which is a bit too bad from our standpoint. I'd really like to know what that railing is. Great to see that detail, but I'd hate to see that go away, whether it's the welded thing in top cap or what that mesh is. So you guys are gonna have to fight with your client to hang on to that. And I hope, yeah, planning fights too for that. Because there's not much to this type of materiality, so I think those, really that's your detail for the project. It's your one indulgence, so hopefully that stays. I think the graphic addressing is great, plays off the rail cars. Big concern, same thing, like a bit early, like the renderings are nice showing the residential exterior corridor, but I'm concerned how that exterior corridor gets drained, i.e. do we have floor drains and really ugly 3-inch pipe and elbows ruining your nice clean facade, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So hard when it's not drawn or developed to that level, but I think it's to pull off a project that's industrial and affordable, sure, is great, but it only works, I think, like you've shown it, if you're able to work through those details, so I hope that continues. I kind of like the stairwell bump out, contrary to Richard's. I think it's like a strong demarcation of the property line. If anything, I'd look at wrapping that rail town or whatever the project gets called to the east side of that wall, because you will see it with the setback of the adjacent building. And I think lighting's going to be kind of important overall. I like how the lower podium is a different treatment than the upper shell. I'm skeptical of the stucco, but I think it's protected, you know, it's under the overhang, so I think I'd leave that to you guys, but I do like the white and I like the color palette, so overall I think it's a really supportable project from my standpoint, and I like the landscape architecture a lot. It is thin, but I think where it is, it's gonna not receive the most care, so I don't know, it feels restrained and articulated and architectural to me, which is you don't always see, so they feel like they're working together, so yeah, that's it for me.
Mayor, I just forgot one thing.
Yep.
Can I just make a comment about the pavers? That you can try and have as rectified as edge as possible to reduce the amount of bumping.
I mean, non-chamfered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes a huge difference.
it does.
Sorry, just one more comment. I think the idea of going from the residential entry to the storefronts would be kind of nice. Somehow, a little more immediate. I don't know how that is. I guess you go up the elevator internally and around, but if that's possible.
Yeah, from an accessibility standpoint.
Yeah, because in this zone you can do neighborhood commercial, which is a little more store cafe-ish potential. So there probably will be a cafe or something in there for residential. Thanks.
They'll follow a really good looking building. Yeah, nice to see. Just had a couple of comments. One, the orientation of the elevator at the I guess the south side. Kind of the one that kind of comes out and then goes right into the studio.
Oh, right.
Would that be able to be oriented? It just seems like both a privacy and a security concern for each of the residential floors. To have the elevator basically open right onto that individual's door. And I don't know whether that could be oriented towards the corner
Right.
outside.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to the lobby design.
Yeah, and to John's point earlier, I think you do kind of look at some of the, whether you make some adjustments at the lobby level to maybe provide some kind of access all around at that podium level. If you do anything that you do there, maybe it'll be easy to change to that orientation. I think it'd be, I agree with Richard's comment just about maybe pulling back the big pillar at Government Road. Although it looks nice too, it just does look imposing, but sometimes the renderings don't really do a good job of conveying what that will really look like. And then, if you're going to re-engineer maybe the ramp a little bit, it might be nice to have a more direct stairway entrance to the to get into that stairwell there for residents who are either coming by bike or getting dropped off on Government Road or taking public transit, so they don't have to kind of walk around the entire building and just have to walk away to get to that podium level. And that's it for my comments.
Overall, I think it's really exciting. I really love the facade kind of echoing the movement of the trains. I think that's a really fun play on the site. To comment on some of staff's comments in terms of the parking, I appreciate that it's temporary to a certain extent. Phase 2 is a big question mark. But just ensuring that as it stands, considering, let's just pretend it's going to last forever and ensure that it does meet the standards in terms of having the islands for plantings and things like that. Lighting, just encouraging you to continue to work with staff in terms of ensuring that there's good outdoor navigation lighting. It's very dark here in the wintertime. I think I don't have an issue at all with the height variance. I think the green roof is a really great amenity. I look forward to seeing what that becomes in phase 2. And would encourage you at this point just to envision potentially a lot of really robust planting up there, and then just designing the building in a way that it can accommodate that kind of structural requirement in the future. I think the band of trees along the west frontage is great. It'll create a really nice, robust edge. And as much as possible, wherever there are plantings, I would encourage there's not a lot of plantings, where we have it, it would be great to have as much layering as possible with ground covers and shrubs as much as we can. Wherever we can, thinking about pollinator plantings, but again, respecting the bears and those limitations with them as well. I wonder, in regards to planting, if there's any opportunity along the west frontage of the building to get some columnar trees in. I don't know. It's a question mark to work with staff, but we have the big benches out in front, and then they're kind of with paving the side. Is there an opportunity to pull those planters at all to get some columnars in? It's just a question to ask. I think it's a worthy design exercise. If it doesn't work, it is a tight space. I appreciate that, but I think it's a worthy design exercise to see if it's possible. And then the temporary open space, phase 2 is coming soon, so I wouldn't encourage a lot of work in that area till we really know what that's going to be with the building. But I think it would be nice to get some seating or something like that for now. They could always be reused in phase 2 and use those modular seats again. So it could be kind of really playful, temporary space going on. And overall, I'm excited. Thank you.
Just a couple comments. Consider an exit only on Government Road. And if not, or in addition, the parking stalls that are closest to Government Road, should be a sign that those are back in only. And then, so you're not backing out, say, onto Government Road, or, creating a bit of a conflict as people enter and exit. As well as if you park a car there and you walk across, you're in a bit of a conflict zone there. So just be aware, and you might need some more painting or something to help secure pedestrians across there. But back in, it's just a sign, and they can back into those, and it's a lot easier, quicker out. John mentioned it, but a turning radius into that loading bay for sure. And that's my comment.
I'm good.
I'll just echo once again that connection from the podium level down to what would be the residential entrance. I guess stairs into the bike cleaning area. Maybe relocate the bike cleaning area. It's whatever works. The reason for that is because I almost feel like the CRU number 1 is, it quite possibly could end up being a tenant services type business in there. So that close connectivity would actually serve it better from a economic standpoint. It just would function better. And then the turning radius, which we've got, I actually have an idea here, and I know that I'm wondering if with this drive aisle and this loading aisle back here, and sort of the overall thinking around the mud zoning to be all connected, can this possibly provide loading access for the building that's going to be next door to the east, which is creating an issue for itself as far as back of CRU loading. They're going to want a solution for that, and this actually could be a really nice solution for the tenants on that side. I know it's not your issue, but it might
I
be
can
something.
speak to that quickly. So the project next door, they're working on rearranging their loading areas to the point where I think they're going to be able to provide it on site. And this is considered a floodway that both sides of this property. So I think we're still working on where the loading is going to go.
Yeah.
Whether it can go there, whether it needs to be pushed somewhere else.
Sharing that lane would be really efficient for both sides, and it
Floodways
solves.
to let water go through, is that the?
Yeah.
So it can be a raised, or it can be a raised suspended slab between the two or something, so water could go through one column.
Oh,
So that's
so
why it can't be solid, because they want water to go between the buildings.
between the two buildings, I
Dissipate
see.
water.
Interesting.
So you can't just link it in
You
a
can't,
convenient way.
and you can't covert or
Well,
do something like that.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a thought, because their front of unit loading next door isn't gonna fly very
And then you
well.
could walk between projects too, right? Rather than jumping over
Yeah.
the cavern or having a railing like we didn't like on the other one.
Yeah, it creates that nice connectivity that you kind of hope for the mud zone anyway, so.
Yeah, for example,
That's it for me.
So quickly here, I like the project, the material choice is nice. So if I had to pick on something, I guess, maybe the residential levels don't read very residential, so perhaps it kind of looks a little bit like an office building. So perhaps you can consider a little bit more of a finer grain detail for the fenestration. And in regards to, I find, I guess, level 3, and I don't really know what your intended construction methodology here is. A103, you have a wide common corridor, which I think is nice, and potentially consider a large landscape buffer there, since you've set the upper corridors back. It could be kind of nice, since you're screening onto a loading area anyway. That's about
Any other comments we missed? Last chance? Okay, do we vote on this one?
Well, if it's A or B, yes. It's a priority project, so that means, we, according to our policy that we're working on,
Yeah.
it's one trip to ADP.
Yeah. So, we don't really vote. Okay. Motion for B, and we can summarize this. B is ADP, or staff worked with the applicant to resolve the comments we have. That was the intent of this whole thing. So, I got 22 comments, we can summarize them for you.
That'd be great.
Okay. The first thing was the ramps and accessibility. The ramps were too steep. That lobby area, maybe rejigged. There was an elevator issue possibly with one of the units. That whole talk there. I think the general comment was the materials were good. Stairwell, there was some debate on that. Some people liked it bumping out so much, some people didn't. So do we want to resolve that here?
Maybe we should do a vote on it, because I actually like it how it is.
Okay.
I don't know if they could pull it back as far as, you might want, because it conflicts with their entry
Building
of that.
beside is going to sit proud of this as well,
It is,
right? Because the government at that point is on an angle.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons we pushed it forward as well, because it will still
Come
be
to the
4 or
table.
5.
Come to the table before it kills.
Yeah.
There's a seat over there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of the reasons we did that was that the building beside us sits proud of ours.
Okay.
So when it's in that context, it's not going to be, you will not see it very much from the, that three-way stop at government.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, otherwise I think we would have made it a little bit more discreet.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't come out in the renderings or anything.
Yeah,
So,
that white blob there.
yeah, so that's
So
proud of
proud
that rail town. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that addresses that for sure. Okay. Resolves that.
Okay.
It's staying where it is. Good color palette. Pavers, we had a paver. Don't use the chamfered paver. Got that?
Yeah, try and have a vote if I did.
Okay, great. Entrance move, residential entrance move. What was that discussion on?
The connection to the Sierra or to the industrial units, is that what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Or the elevator, I think those are the two.
No, the connection.
Yeah, I think it was just hopeful that there would be from the residential lobby to the main podium some connection.
Yeah.
Pedestrian connection.
Right, okay.
Challenging.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Lighting was an important concept here. It's dark, so add more lighting. Okay. Make sure for phase 2 planting on the roof, there's structure in place for that. That was a comment. Planting, good comments there, Meredith. What do we have? You said push and pull something.
I was saying if it's achievable to get some columnars along the west frontage.
Okay.
It's just a design exercise, but it's tight, but it may be possible just to soften out the frontage of it.
Okay. Okay.
If possible.
John, relocate that bike, clean, it's a bike wash station, is that right? So relocate that, do we know?
For stairs.
Yeah.
If stairs were to come in.
Okay, yeah. Turning radius for that loading bay, there's some talk of that moving or whatever, but make sure you drive a truck around there. And then some synergy with that adjacent lot if possible. It's flood, but there's some opportunity there to share that. They are coming back again and they've had some trouble with that, so maybe you can help them out on that. Residential level, whose comment was this on some, Cheryl, you liked everything, but it looked a bit too industrial for residential scale, or what was
Yeah,
that?
just that, I guess, this west facade, this one, yeah, so consider maybe breaking up the fenestration patterns a little bit to make it read a little bit finer grain.
Right, okay. Did I miss anything?
There was a comment about the elevator, how it interacted with the entrance to one of the units. So
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That whole,
Security,
right,
how it's oriented. And additionally, the accessible parking should be located close to the elevator.
right, okay. And then the site plan, making those stalls back in only, or really make it an exit only entrance, or exit only. Try to push people entering from Pioneer, that's a better roadability there. When that train does come by, it jams everything up. And that's, I think that's a 3-meter bike zone there as well.
I think you get people trying to do turnarounds then if it's an exit only.
Right.
You might push that.
Yeah.
It's almost a really good plan that people, if the train comes, they're gonna be going through there more than one probably to get to Pioneer and get out.
Right.
So it's, I think it's almost like a street, it's a good thing right now.
I think the engineering department
might be a good idea.
had same preliminary comments that it's gotta be almost like just an exit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they want an exit. Because if I was trying to find that building, I'd come down Government and go, oh, I can't go in there. So what do you do before the tracks? You try and do a UE.
Yeah. Okay, miss anything? No, that's good, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can we vote on it?
Should we vote, or did we not vote?
You did not.
Okay. Do we have a motion for B? John has a motion for B, seconded Chris. Vote, all in favor? John?
Thanks.
One last thing, just want to follow up on the ADP awards. We need a name for these awards. So my suggestion is, and it's just a suggestion, best residential project ever, and then in brackets 2017 ADP award, and then the same for the other 2 awards. Or we could just do, 2017 award for residential development.
I like the 2017 residential award. Not best,
Not
best ever.
Well, that's the 2017 though, right?
I just keep it simple, residential award.
Yeah.
Residential, it's
Yeah.
the
But
one,
anybody can
one,
do it,
isn't
it's
it?
like,
But what sounds hardwired for adventure?
Exactly.
Be still.
some type of,
Best of
They just
20.
get a plaque.
I think so.
Just, come on.
If people are Squamish, you get
First
do
annual.
something a little more,
Well, I'm sure we'll be a
Like an
bit
axe or
more creative.
a bit more cheesy.
But I think some color in the name of the award would be good as well.
Yeah. Best of 2017, residential, mixed use, commercial.
Okay?
Well, you could try and throw a word like prestige in there, or, I mean, I can understand trying to throw one more word in there to,
Yeah. What is the chief does when they do best restaurant, it's a year.
I do things, something like best design or best livability or best commercial, not
Yeah.
necessarily just best residential,
Yeah.
which is just a little too.
But that's
No, I think
categories
there's
we
gonna be
looked at.
3 awards basically. One is best residential, one is best mixed use, and best industrial.
Yeah, but maybe in the future we could think of it being sort of categorized differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They've got more projects.
And I think this year we'll probably see more projects than we did last year.
I think the public would probably absorb, best design or best livability better than best mixed use. A lot of the public is just like mixed use. Yeah.
No, we'll stick with it for this year.
ask the communication school.
Yeah.
So
best of 2017 residential.
2017?
Best of
We're talking
2017.
about creativeness, I think it's
I mean, you guys can leave it up to us. We'll come up with a name.
Yeah.
can always change it.
Sounds good to me.
What was your first suggestion?
My first suggestion was best residential project ever, 2017, ADP award. And then best mixed use project ever, in brackets, 2017.
Take out ever.
Yeah.
Don't use ever.
Okay.
So just before you go, or before we all go, does anybody have any thoughts on models? And John mentioned the model, for the larger, more complicated developments. And do we have anything that we would request developers to bring in a model for us?
Not yet, we're still working on material palette, I think, mandatory.
Yeah,
Well,
mandatory in
Because
Vancouver.
I feel like
Yeah.
we've gone the other way, there's it might be this, it might be this, we might change the shade of this, and I'm always like, well, this is what we're talking about though, so I feel like it should be tied to a physical palette, and the drawing should match the palette.
Yeah.
It's not bring a color palette wheel and say, oh, it could be this. So,
Well,
I
it used to
agree
be like that, though. I mean, the pallets used to go around every
Yeah,
time.
but I feel like it's less and less. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a model would be great, but they are arduous. But on a big project, I mean, Vancouver, it's mandatory, but that's Vancouver.
Well, I don't know how you would pick them, but when John mentioned that one, and I've
Big
heard
project.
some counselors talk about it in
Mm.
a kind of vague way, but on something that's a fairly substantial building,
Yeah.
50 units and up, and like the one down at the end of.
Over 100 feet or something, maybe.
It's just, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Or a rezoning.
Or even if there's not a model.
Well, rezoning is kind of early, right? Because at that
Yeah.
point,
Or
we're
even
just
how
kind of
about
dealing with land
3D,
use.
3D renderings, better 3D
Well, yeah, like
renderings.
the fly-through that was done for the Cleveland Avenue project is kind of helpful to give you a little bit more perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're handcuffing some offices though, I heard.
Pardon?
You're handcuffing some offices, I might hand draw still, and that's okay, so it's tricky to require certain software.
I think for DPs, the samples that's an easy solution to make them mandatory. But then projects, some projects keep cycling through, and it becomes expensive, especially for small projects. So making it for larger projects, maybe 50 units plus, would make sense.
The model,
No, the
materials are expensive to do though.
they're not.
No, I mean, max $50 to cut, or the samples are free, and you gotta cut them and put them on. So
Okay.
I mean, I'm a small office, not every, it's definitely doable. Yeah.
Well, I know we get a lot of stuff sometimes, not a lot of stuff, but stuff through council where there's, they show you kind of some 3D, but it's never tied into the neighborhood. You know what I mean? They go, oh, this is how it looks from this angle, this is how it looks from that. And you don't see the neighboring buildings. You don't get kind of any idea how
Streetscape.
massive it is. We're going into now 6 and 8 stories, and it's,
Some of that's intentional.
Yeah.
The thing with digital is you can, like Vantage maybe, like John's saying, it's easy to skew the perspective or not show the building you don't want to show, for sure.
yeah.
So,
Well, we've made that comment in the past that we need more context,
and the ones that show it are always
It's
supported
really
easier.
helpful.
Yeah.
Like today, the example at MUD, it was really helpful to know
Yeah.
what was happening.
Yeah.
That really should be known.
But do you almost just take that and use that when you're dealing with proponents and say ADP wants more stuff?
Well, you gotta update the bylaw. We have to put it in the bylaw if it's mandatory.
I think in the past I've seen Vancouver, you have to show 2 buildings either side, or some delineation, so at least you know context, not just here's the building with the edge. Maybe that's it, I don't know what the magic number is, but that would be.
I think that would be helpful from my standpoint as council.
Even with Google Earth, it's so easy to go to
Yeah,
Google
right.
Street and do an improved
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And in terms of the models, they should be encouraged, they don't have to be required, but if someone feels like they have this great tool, please bring it, we'd love to see it. It's really helpful to have that information. For me, whenever I see one of my projects, whoa, that's
Great
amazing.
jobs for model
Really
builders.
helpful.
Yeah, it's expensive to farm it out, where you're gonna have students making it.
There's a guy in Britannia that's been doing it for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, for a lot of the city projects.
Yeah, no, they're great to have.
So,
They can be expensive, the models.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, you know, maybe they're not necessarily required, but if they feel it's a useful tool, I think we should be, well, open to having them come in and use that method.
There have been some.
Or have it
Yeah.
suggested in the bylaw, but not necessarily
Yeah.
required, at least having it in writing.
well, I certainly like the idea of it showing what Chris said, the two buildings on all sides.
For sure.
Because that, I mean, I know we get 3D renderings and you get a little kind of pencil drawing
Yeah.
of some roof on this side, and oh, there's that building over there, you can't even see it.
I think that's more important than the shadow study. Is that in the requirements?
No, it's not.
I think that the context is more important with height,
Yeah.
where Squamish is
Yeah.
at now.
So would you bring that up to council, Jonas, and have us discuss it?
Sure, yeah, we can put that on the list of things to do with our procedures bylaw.
Okay.
That's where it lives.
Okay, that's it about council? Okay. Any other comments? No? All right, let's terminate, motion to terminate meeting. Second, Sarah, we're done.
Yeah, it's all right, I'm late. I don't know, in my calendar it says 2, and I keep ignoring the fact that I've been told it's 1.
Well, I think that